governors elected under the platform of People's Democratic Party, PDP, and other top members of the party, including some former governors, are currently meeting behind closed doors at the Bauchi State Governor's Lodge in Abuja to seek solutions on how to stem the tide of defections by its prominent members, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Well, among the early arrivals are Governors Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, Ademola Adeleke of Osun, Seyi Makinde of Oyo, and Ahmed Fintiri of Adamawa State. The party has in recent weeks lost so many key figures, including the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oboroweri, his predecessor, 2023 vice presidential candidate, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, and several lawmakers, both at the federal and state levels. Some of the governors who have not defected, like Omoyena of Akwa Ibom State, have openly endorsed President Bola Tinubu of the APC for the 2027 presidential election. Well, the meeting is also coming on the heels of publicly expressed intentions by the three senators of the party from Kebbi State to formally defect to the APC on Tuesday. Political analysts argue that the party's internal dynamics and lack of cohesion may be contributing factors to the scale of defections. Excuse me. Well, joining us on the news to discuss expectations from PDP governors meeting that's just holding and what steps the party needs to take to stem the tide of defections in the party is Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Amadi.
Thank you.
It's like a gale storm of defections. What do you make of it? Let's start from there.
I think we used to defections and in the past, maybe one or two, but they like you say, call it the gale.
Caliber.
Yes, caliber and the quantity, the number of people defect at different times are kind of basically unusual in many ways, okay? When state governors who are in safe seats, what I can call safe seats, are defecting. I mean, the Delta is a safe seat in the sense that it's been thoroughly a PDP state, apart from the presidential election that PDP won, which is exceptional in the sense that it was always a PDP, both presidential governorship election. And so when a governor and a former vice presidential candidate of a major opposition party defect and others defect,
heavyweights,
and almost all the senators, it suggests some kind of an unusual phenomenon. So this is unusual, worrisome to many, even who are not even of PDP, who don't support the PDP or who are not PDP members, because I think there's a general consensus among most Nigerians that having a very strong opposition, not just that it gives opportunity for alternating. I mean, globally, most stable democracies witness max 2 cycles of election. The ruling party goes away because essentially in the nature of governance, there will be factors don't control that could affect economy, affect security. If it's like a U.S. international crisis, could make a party lose. So when you have a de facto ruling party, one party state, de facto by virtue of defections and look like fait accompli, people are worried. So PDP supporters are worried, non-PDP supporters are worried. We are dealing with something that's unusual. But again, many people interpret it as some kind of maybe a fait accompli in terms of electoral outcome. Not necessarily, because we know that in many of those states or many of those DCMPs may not overwhelmingly determine electoral outcome in the presidential race, may not. But it speaks to some level of convergence, if you like, of political sensibilities, maybe.
All right, so what are your, excuse me, what are then your expectations from the ongoing meeting? Do you see PDP finding ways, to bring back their members? Because we'll come to that. Mm-hmm. Even in Delta State, mm-hmm. where the governor and the former president can have defected, there's still a problem with PDP members who have not been able to register with APC mm-hmm. because the APC is saying, where is your resignation note? Absolutely. And they're refusing to resign. And they're saying they will build the party, and some are talking of even going to court to challenge these defections.
Okay, first is what they expect. I think lately PDP meetings have been predictable. Predictable that stalemate, some forcefully and meaningless communic issue at the end of the day. They have maybe 3 key issues they have failed to resolve. First is the issue of leadership, namely the secretary, and then the notion of what to do with Wike and his group. Now, you may not like or don't like Wike, but it's an oddity for a leader of a party, I mean, he's a leader in everywhere, in terms of investment, in terms of control, to be campaigning for the other candidate, not secretly, saying, look, we will elect APC candidate, the president of the current president. It's never done. Again, not just only him. I mean, the House caucus, the National Assembly caucus of PDP in Rivers State, several PDP, who claim to be PDP members, have come out openly to say, even the governor of Akwa Ibom, the irrationality of all this doesn't kind of, this is odd. First, the reason why you're an opposition party, especially the one that lost power recently and the strongest in terms of party, PDP is the strongest opposition party. The real contest for opposition party is the presidency. That's why you're opposition, okay? If leaders of that party concede that contest to their opposition, the opponent, then the question is, what are you existing to do? So the problem with PDP is kind of understand why PDP should exist towards 2027. If its leadership has conceded the contest that defines the party, Nigerian political parties are mostly defined by presidential election. This is the big item of it. Just like clubs who are going for Champions League or the league, Premiership or La Liga, and you are a major contender, you are Real Madrid or Barcelona, and before you kick off the league, your key player says, all we know is that Real Madrid should win, and we're going to fight for Real Madrid to win. So the question is, it should be the contest. So the problem with PDP is, how do you resolve this crisis? Where leaders of the party themselves are committed to the electoral defeat of their party, even before the contest begins. That's never heard of. We know people who are not happy with outcomes.
Some leaders, 1 or 2, because governors apparently are not committed. Oh, well, Umoeno says, Umoeno is one of them.
He says he's going to do that.
Oh, well,
he's going to do that, yeah?
Over
the governor of Delta says it's gone, okay? Yeah. But I mean those who are still remaining. If you look at also some of the leaders, the caucus, different caucuses of their list, these are leaders, saying, look, when a PDP says, I'm committed to Tinubu's victory, it's thoroughly illogical and incomprehensible.
So are you saying this meeting
irrespective of who Tinubu is, whether good or bad, this is about the reason for the contest, essentially, by definition, is that you should oppose him. Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying at this meeting is, how are we going to see some finality on getting the party to have a clear path on who is the secretary, number 1. 2, getting a clear path, what do we do with persons who for all reasonable purposes are no longer with us? In my view, a PDP governor or PDP chieftain who says I will campaign for Tinubu is no longer a PDP member for the purpose of 2027. Later can be. You can't just start off by saying my party will lose. So that's why I said that's a crisis. The second issue is, are they able to reignite the commitment of their members across the state? So the crisis in Rivers, how do you solve it? The crisis in other places, in Imo, for example. So are you going to create that relaunch a sense that PDP is going to contend with the election? And the third issue would be article or no article. It's whether I like it or not, a divisive issue.
Bring up that.
Exactly.
So
the article group says, look, the issue that we will run for, so should article exit the presidential race? It's unfair to tell somebody who has a constitutional right not to run. But at the same time, some people feel maybe that's a divisive issue. So how PDP struggle to say the weaker issue is one part, which is those who are actually working against the party. Shouldn't we chunk them off? There are 2 parties under crisis, those that perhaps many of the leaders feel they don't need. So these 3 issues, I don't see how...
They have so much on their plate.
I don't think they can resolve because history, PDP's recent history of this kind of meeting is that it's wishy-washy. They end up with some neither nor kind of statement. Okay, we're going to look... And they kick the ball, the so-called neck, continue to be kicking forward. So I don't have confidence in the PDP because three factors. One, the leadership are riddled by personal interests. There are some people who want people with PDP probably to lose the election so that they can have they can stand next election. Those who don't want Atiku to win, those who want Atiku to win, and the weaker group who also seem to be who are in power basically.
Holistically, where does this leave the state? I mean, Nigeria and the electorate. For example, the chairman of APC says that too many cooks spoil the broth. So he says something like too many political parties is not good for democracy. That's what he said. We did that yesterday. It's not good for democracy. And then I just read Osito Okechukwu's point about, he says one party state is antithetical. He doesn't support. But whether it's one party, APC will win. So what does this do? If PDP is not able to find their footing or the other political parties, what does this do to the state Nigeria, to the electorate, in terms of having choices and democracy?
Yeah, I think Ganduje probably is not wrong to say theoretically that too many political parties could create a chaos. And from the history of China, what the China-India contrast that political economists talk about, a regulated democracy might be more productive of development. But that's, the point here is regulated. A two-party, maybe back to Babangida's vision of two-party states. Yes. So maybe a two-party where there's alternation is good. Maybe multi-parties that are chaotic and not able to aggregate development agenda, maybe incoherence. So that's a problem. But at this point, what we're seeing is not the typical one-party state where an ideological party kind of mobilizes everybody to a developmental agenda. What we are seeing is basically strong individuals, Tinubu perhaps using political skills to get people in, some fear of electoral outcome. You see, the problem with Nigeria is actually elections. People are decamping and defecting because they don't have confidence. First, that they can mobilize political support and win election. Two, go to court. And the court has become complicit in this fait accompli, where there's no voice, citizens have no control, the courts go there, slam dunk, and give victory to the guy who stole it. So the point is this: let's distinguish between a real political coalition built based on ideology of development, which can happen, which may be a good thing, than this opportunistic coalition. That's because people have there's absence of competitiveness because of structure, because of, electoral system that is locked in, where the ruling party oftentimes has a capacity to influence outcome. So my hope is this: the political parties themselves are not the real, if you like, opposition. It doesn't exhaust it. So if PDP compromises or collapses, there could be individuals, we've seen them, maybe it's an Erufai, maybe a P2B, maybe an Atiku, maybe Kokwanzo, or some other persons who can galvanize alternative movement in the sense that voters themselves might not have a strong party. We saw what P2B did with 2023. No matter the outcome, whether people say he was rigged or not, the point is that with that short time, with almost like a independent candidate, he got 6 million votes. So it's possible that as part of this connivance of political parties, like what Soludo says, Abga supports this guy. Maybe it's good for Soludo's politics, but it doesn't guarantee that Tinubu will win Anambra, because, of course, Delta, Okowa was the presidential candidate. P2B defeated them, trounced them. So it's possible. In Edo, PDP was in charge. P2B won. So it's possible that as part of this convergence of political platforms, so to say, that there's still a real opposition. And we might still see a very competitive election. So Nigeria's saving grace is that the political parties themselves do not monopolize political space, and therefore do not monopolize political organizing, and that we can see individuals lead alternatives. And once there's an alternative, democracy is safe. If there's no alternative, democracy is ruined. So my consolation is, in spite of
political education for the election.
Exactly. And it looks at the economic crisis and the loss of faith in public institutions will radicalize voters to make alternative choice. Now, the key point here is, what does INEC do? If electoral process is clear and competitive and free and fair, I think in spite of this convergence of political platforms, there will be real contest in 2027.
The voice of the masses will be
there. Will be real contest, because the issues will create the competition, and individuals already showing themselves, whether it's P2B, Atiku, whatever, will lead possibilities for alternative, change of government. But
because really issues should be the basis for voting.
Competition is good for democracy.
All right.
It doesn't matter whether the party is good for the party to be competitive, but if they're not competitive, the people can still make a choice if that's free and fair. That's what we should focus on.
All right. So we were with their meeting. That's Dr. Sam Amadi, Director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you for joining us on this.